Hello. All right, we are getting folks in. Got another minute here.
You have more coming for Judy, or was that it?
How many are there?
28?
That's it.
Letting everybody in. Hey, Dave, how you doing?
Morning, good morning.
All right, who else we got let in here? There we go. Everybody showing up right on the start time today. That's all right. We love y'all anyway. Beautiful. Let some of these folks get in here. And all right. Great. All right. Well, good morning, everybody. How we doing? Fantastic. Fantastic. Oh, there's Kit popping up. All right. Very good. Very good. Well, I'm glad y'all are here today, and we're admitting some people here still. If you have not had a chance yet, please make sure you go and put your numbers in. Remember, the spreadsheet is pinned at the top of the Facebook group. Guys, it's okay if you got some zeros, if you got all zeros somewhere, put them in, let us know, because again, the whole idea is for you to be able to look back at the end of the 12 weeks and say, maybe we made some progress in some areas. And in this market, maybe you didn't make any progress with writing a whole bunch of contracts because maybe there's not a whole lot of houses, but making your contacts, being consistent, setting those appointments, whatever it might be, it's all about taking steps forward. Okay. And there is something that you can continually be doing to push your business forward every single day and every single week. All right. Little by little. It's a game of inches. It's kind of like football. Any football fans here? All right. Everybody loves the Hail Mary plays, the big runs, whatever it might be. But sometimes you're just at the line of scrimmage grinding out, second and inches, right? That's the way it is sometimes. And that's okay. Sometimes you got to put the ball and start all over again. That's okay too. The point is to stay on the field and keep moving. So as of right now, again, the stats always change a little bit, but as of right now, 80% of agents fail out of the business and quit in their first year. We've got 22 people on this call right now. I'm going to take Dave out. I'm going to take Kevin out. I'm going to take Kid out. I'm going to take myself out. Oh, now we got 23. So that's 19.
Here comes Dawn.
Well, 24 now. So that's 20 of you. So 80%, statistically speaking, of you won't be here in a year, is what the stats tell us, if we don't do things differently, guys. But the good news is you don't have to be a statistic. We don't want you to be a statistic. That's why I'm showing up here on Tuesday mornings with you. Right? That's why Kit's here. That's why Kevin's here. That's why Dave's here. We're here for you. Why are you here? That's the question we always got to come back to. So proving the statistics wrong. That's right. That's what it's all about. You know, Jake posted something in the TLR page last week, and I've seen other people post it before, but it's that comment of, you know, underestimate me, that'll be fun. I love that comment, because again, when I started in real estate, and this does lead into our topic for today, I promise. When I started in real estate, no sales experience. All right. I was a pastor for 14 years at that time. Small church, new area, no sphere. The first people that in my church that sold the house left so they wouldn't have to work with me. I wouldn't have to know all their financial business, which of course isn't what it's all about at all. All right. So I had every reason to be one of those statistics. I was part-time. I didn't know what I was doing. I'd never sold anything in my life. Right. People always coming to me. I never had to go to them, never had to have those kinds of conversations. And yet here I am. Right. You can do it. You can do it. So we're talking about our stories this week. We're talking about kind of creating your brand, creating your messaging, putting yourself out there. I want to know from those of you that took the time to go through the videos, to do some of the activities and stuff, what did you learn about yourself? Nobody learned anything. Okay, well, that's depressing. It's going to be a real long call today.
Iris will say something.
Hi, sorry, wait, am I muted?
No,
Nope.
You're good.
Okay, good. For some reason my phone link wasn't working, so I had to go get my laptop open, so I apologize for being late. So just jumping in, what are we talking about right now?
What did you learn about yourself this week?
I think you can go past your comfort zone, like when you challenge yourself. Make that call when you do things that you don't know anything about. I am figuring out a new transaction right now that I've never dealt with before. So going through those steps and doing the research and figuring out step by step. You know, there's always more to learn, obviously, but it's always neat to see that you're capable of more than you thought you were at first. And whether it's going to work out or not, it remains to be seen. But, you know, in the meanwhile, at least you're gathering experience and you're gathering knowledge, and you know more than you would have not dealing with it.
I like that. You're always capable of more than you think you are. I love that comment. Great. Thank you. Who else?
Richard, you're commenting on. Are you able to get on the unmute? Where are you, Richard? I think I can find you on my thing here. Can you hear me, Richard?
I surrender. I don't know what that was.
Well, I'm beeping. People are coming in, so I'm admitted. Well, I guess, yeah, I just admitted Beth. Richard, he was been in the chat a little bit. I don't know if someone else, Richard found that I'm a work in progress and that failure is not an option. So I'd love to hear more about that from Richard, if Richard can join us. And if you can't, I can understand, I get it.
This is Dan from the Forest Lake office.
Okay, Dan, yes, bring it in.
You know, I don't know if it's a learn or just a reinforcement, but I think the opening video of this week was kind of a drop the mic moment. I mean, it's really getting to look at yourself.
Yes.
We are not the product of our circumstances. We are the product of our decisions and our actions. So I took a little ownership of some areas in my life that I thought needed improving this week. Even exercise, you know, I recommitted myself to jump in and do that. I've done it before, but I just like, why did it fall off? So I just started it again. And this morning I woke up and I actually felt better, you know, and it's days of doing this, just days, not weeks. And I felt better. So that's, like I say, I could rewatch that first 2-minute opening video over and over again.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I love that, Dan. And here's the thing is you run, I mean, the Forest Lake office here in Minneapolis is a beautiful ship. I mean, I have the honor and pleasure to coach those folks. And Dan, here's what I'm going to challenge you with 2 things if I can as your coach. One is go to your calendar and write down exactly what you just told us in today's calendar so we can revisit it again. And capturing that moment of energy that you have and making sure that you put a place for it that you can recall it, because there's days that you're going to feel like, oh my God, I really don't want to do that today. And then sometimes when you go back and you journal, you're like, or you look back on your week, or we do reflections, or you're doing time right now. So we can embrace that journey. And then the other thing, the question I'd ask you is, and this is for you to think about, and we'll talk about on our call, is who in your office may need that love energy too?
Yeah.
Because we all do. This is we're coming on the close of Q1, and some people are having stellar quarters. Some are in their head, they're scared because they're having struggles with getting contracts to the finish and clients staying in there and interest rates, and you name all this stuff. But there are people in our worlds that aren't necessarily on this call, and it's not just within our own 2 ears, that need to hear what you just shared.
Okay.
So you as a fearless leader, I'm going to task you with just who in your world needs to hear that message that you can grace.
Good idea. You also had me go through, which we'll talk about in our next training thing, a week. I tracked my week during, you know, and that actually sucked. So that was hard. What am I doing every day, all day? Yeah, so that was an eye opener for me. But we'll talk about that when we're training.
Yeah, we'll debrief that on our session. Absolutely. All right. Thank you for sharing.
It's a good thing for anybody to do, though. Track what you're doing all day, every day. Because sometimes we look at our results and we say, man, I'm just not seeing it. But then when you really pay attention to what you're doing, you find out, you know, I went to go post one thing on social media and 4 hours later, I was still scrolling. You know, that's going to make a difference in your production and your results. It really will. So very good. Anybody else?
So ask the question again, because we've had a lot of people that have just come in that I've admitted.
So what are you learning
Richard's
about yourself?
back.
Go ahead.
Richard, you put some comments down in the chat. Would you care to expand on that?
Oh, I see him talking, but I didn't hear him.
Yeah, that's the problem.
I
There
picked
we
on
go.
Richard earlier, and he's shaking his head no.
All right.
Richard, sign language.
That's all.
Yep. He can't
not-
get his thing out. That's not good, Richard.
I'm
Keep
not gonna be
typing.
able
We
to
love
do
you.
that.
We'll translate for you.
That's all right. That's all right. You know, J.J. Abrams, the filmmaker, right? Responsible for, what was it? I think it was Lost, the Star Trek series, lots of different things. He said this. He said, everybody thinks that you have to, in this job, in this career of filmmaking, you have to sell the story. He said, you don't have to sell the story if you tell the story. It sells itself. You know, I thought that was really, really interesting in terms of what we are doing, right? When you are talking about how do I get out there? How do I attract people? How do I build my business? You know, there are obviously things that you have to do, right? You got to answer emails, you got to answer the phone, you got to show up, all those sorts of things. But what are you doing to tell the story? If you start with your big why, how many of you have your big why? Why are you doing this? Why are you here every day? What is it? right? Start with that. And from there, you're building out, this is why I'm doing it. So if this is why I'm doing it, this is how I'm going to get there to fulfill my life, to make myself happy, to do the things I want to do, right? And you begin to tell that story. We think, oh, I'm here to sell houses. I think the selling houses is the byproduct of telling people the story that resonates with them. That's when people want to work with you. That's when people say, man, I want to be in business with you. Man, I want to partner with you. But if you don't know, first of all, why you're here versus why are you the fry cook at McDonald's, or why are you, checking stuff out at Target, or why are you, working on cars? If you don't know that part first, then you're going to have a really hard time being able to tell a convincing story that separates you from the rest of the pack. Again, as of 3 weeks ago now, 7 agents for every active listing in America. We'll find out in another week or so what those numbers are now. I think they'll change a little bit as we get into the spring market, but there's a lot of us out there, guys. There's a lot of us out there. And again, 80%, statistically speaking, won't be in the business a year from now. So we have to become that storyteller of, here's why you want to work with me. Here's what I'm doing to add value to make your dreams come true. Here's how you can help me make mine. I don't think people mind that. I don't think people mind at all knowing what they're a part of. Kit, Dave, Kevin, anybody, Beth, would you agree with that
100%.
statement?
I've got a couple of comments, and one's going to come back full circle in that conversation. But I had this conversation, I think, with you, Jamie. You happen to be next to me on my screen, and help me if you remember the conversation. Who gets paid, other than athletes, but who gets paid the most in our society?
Actors.
Thank you. Well, you do remember the conversation. Yes, actors and actresses are some of the highest paid in our society. Would you argue with me on that? I mean, can we get an agreement on that?
Yes.
Okay. I love it when they don't fight with me first thing in the morning. Perfect. So what do actors and actresses do?
Perform.
What's their fundamental? Pardon me?
Perform.
They slap each other.
Perform. Do that. What was the other thing? Slap each other. Yes. Now I could take that in a whole different set of directions, and I won't, because somebody will get mad at me. But yes, they perform. So did Will Smith perform. But what else do they do? They perform. What else do they do?
They practice their scripts.
Yes, I heard a couple people. They practice their scripts. They tell
Stories.
stories. They show up as a chameleon, right? They embody themselves in the role they're going to play to be the person that other person, that audience needs them to be. The greatest salespeople can walk into the environment and in, I don't know, 8 seconds, figure out exactly who they have to be in that presentation. And I'm not talking about being fake and unauthentic. I'm talking about the story I might show up to tell somebody based on the situation that I'm in. Rebecca, they make people feel their feelings in a safe way. Exactly, beautifully put. And we, as salespeople, as agents, we're walking into people's lives in most often cases when there's what going on. Why do people move?
Change.
Thank you. Yes, there's a trigger. There's a trigger to the move. So when we show up in their world and we understand that trigger and we can tell our story in relation, maybe not our story, a story in relation to their trigger, it does exactly what Rebecca says. It puts them at ease in a safe place. And you walk with them through story. That's how you master your listing presentation. That's how you master your buyer's presentation. Yes, there are fundamental pieces we need to discuss, i.e. the system of buying and selling a house. But if you're going to master the listing presentation, the buyer presentation, the consults, it comes from the place of practicing and understanding how to show those skills of empathy, listening, learning, yada, 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 with the people in front of you. It's a craft and it's a story.
Mhm.
Your story matters with them.
Right.
Anybody want to share maybe an example of somebody who's going through something and you could walk in and story? And again, if you show up unauthentically, that's not what I'm talking about. I fire you or don't do that. But when you show up authentically with them, tell me someone who, I know all of you because you've listed and sold houses on here, and you're dealing with people in their largest amounts of pain trigger in their lives, in many cases, how you showed up for them.
Just this weekend, I
Beautiful. Beth, share your story.
was on a listing appointment. It was the first appointment. It's going to be a two-stepper, I think. And the folks wanted to show me their house, but it was vacant. They've already moved. They moved because their daughter had a problem with long COVID. And so they've got to find another place. Long story short, they have a house on a golf course that if they fix it up, it's worth, I don't know, $950. And if they don't, $850. And so I listened, and what they wanted was a project manager. They wanted somebody to take something off their plate so they could deal with the other stuff they have to deal with. And so I was able to listen to their story, get them to tell their story so I could share mine about being able to project manage if they'd like. And they were so relieved.
Beautiful.
And when you listen to their story and you share your parts that fit with what they need. You don't tell them everything.
Yeah. And if I can be so bold as to interrupt you there, that you came in, instead of seeing two sets of transactions or saw it transactionally, and yet you saw their pain, this overwhelm of, we don't necessarily have to sell two houses and buy something else. We can move from one to another, whatever the story was, but this is overwhelm. Yeah, thank you. Who else? Let's take another one. How many of you have dealt with death, divorce, and relocation? All right, Anthony, you got a story for us in that? How would you show up for somebody in one of those situations?
You sell appliances?
No, I don't sell appliances. Anthony, you got it?
Yeah, we learned from an experience with divorce. Both of them wanted to sell, but one didn't want the divorce. So when we finally got the property under contract, one of the partners was being very difficult on getting to the finish. So I know this really has nothing to do with winning the listing, but we did win the listing by going in there and, sympathizing with the fact that they were going through a divorce, and it was a difficult time for both of them, and that we were there to basically support them through the whole process. But and that's why we got the listing. But then when we finally went to close, it became a little bit of a headache, but we did get it to close. But so one thing that I would recommend if you are in that situation is to just make sure that both parties are really capable to sign and go forward with it if the house does sell.
Okay, sure. So you had to go in there and empathize with them, and then you had to navigate rough waters.
Had to play counsel. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
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 And I'm a pastor as well. And when in ministry, I actually had a couple in my church that was going through problems. They were coming to me, and she decided she was leaving and she wanted her own house. And he was not having it. He made everything very, very difficult. But he kept saying, I don't want to divorce. I don't want her to leave. And so I'm talking to him on that side of it, of what he needs to do as a husband, as a father. And I'm talking to her about what she needs to do to keep herself safe and protected as an agent. And over the course of time, just going back and forth, being that listener, being that mediator, they ended up getting back together. So you think, well, you talked yourself out of a sale. But a year later, they come back to me and they say, okay, now we're ready together to sell the home that we're in and buy a new home. Well, of course, who are they going to trust for that? You know, I had another one last year. This was just last year. The lady was going through a terrible, terrible divorce. We had court orders involved, all this sort of stuff. Finally got her into a house after about 3 months, and she was so happy. The week of closing, it looked like everything was going to fall apart because of the husband. And I did everything I could, including, which I'm not recommending this, but including cutting my commission drastically down so that she could have the money to close, because we're at the closing table. Again, I'm not advocating that, but I'm saying at that point, that was the only way it was going to get done, because he wasn't going to give the money that he was supposed to give. We get her into the house. She was so incredibly grateful to me that I did not give up on her. In that year since, she has referred 3 family members, and she just called me last Friday and said, hey, guess what? I met somebody. We're getting married. He's got 4 kids. She moved into a 1-bedroom house. He's got 4 kids. I need to sell this house. You need to help us find another one. Right? The whole point of a story, guys, is that stories don't necessarily end. Right? There are chapters. Y'all ever read a book? There are chapters. And when you see things in terms of chapters, and you see it long term, and you see how you can add value in this season, in this chapter, there are things that can open up to you later on that you don't even know about. But it's all about that listening. It's all about that being attentive. It's all about that being genuine that we're talking about. It's so important.
I think it's like the listening part is very important, because we all like to talk. I mean, I love to talk, but I have to learn to shut myself up and listen. And you can pick up on the social cues on where they are, and then you just feed off it. It's, you know, and then on the divorcing, just make sure when you do have clients, you're representing both of them. And if you do become kind of that mediator of it, you just got to realize that you're representing both of them still. So yeah, you want the sale to go through, but you're still representing both of them. So it can be trying.
Absolutely.
Yes, it can. And they will try to put you on, sometimes put you on a side. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Happens with business partners divorcing too.
100%. I got some pretty good stories on those. Thank you for that. I'm going to switch gears, if it's okay with you, for a second there, Devin, only because I think it's super important.
Mm-hmm.
Just if you guys can give me a raise of hands in your transparency here. I feel like a counselor, that's part of our job. How many of you have an elevator speech? So, okay, a couple of you guys do. And then some people don't have their screens on. I usually would scream and yell about you guys not having your screens on, but I don't have any voice left, so I can't scream. So if you have an elevator speech and you want to share it, we'd love to hear it. If you do not have an elevator speech, please have your elevator speech prepared for what is next week's. We have 2 more weeks?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So can you please have your elevator speech for next week? Please. So if you already have yours, and if you want to share it today, great. If you don't, please, because we are going to pick on some of you. And guess what? We'll do a contest for the person who shows up, an agent, and you have your elevator speech planned, and you discuss it here. We're going to pick one that is going to be $100 gift certificate. So for $100, are you guys willing to figure out, if I bumped into an elevator and I said, hey, Devin, or I didn't even say Devin, we started talking and I said, well, curious, what brings you in this elevator? And maybe he's going to a conference. What would you say?
I'm lost.
Thank you.
I actually just had this last week, leading a table discussion at a church event, not anything related to real estate at all, but I made the comment while we were talking about what we were supposed to be talking about, that, oh, I was showing a house earlier in the day and this happened that happened to relate to what we were talking about. And the person next to me says, oh, you're in real estate? Well, yeah, that's exactly what I do, and before you know it, they ask for a card, right? We set an appointment, right? It sometimes it just is going to happen organically. Again, that scripting is so important, but knowing what you're going to say in that opportunity, so important. Oh yeah, I sell how. No, we have to be able to very quickly respond and let people know what we're doing and how we are interested in helping them.
You guys, this is so critical to your careers. Kevin, you had a really cool elevator speech, and if you don't have it prepared today, I'm not asking. I know you did, and I can't remember if it was for coaching or for selling real estate, but I remember you having one sometime that we had a discussion, and I think I even stole a couple of your words. So I don't know if you're game for that, or you want to save yourself for next week. Or...
I am born ready.
You
as long as I don't cough my way through it.
Oh man, I'm telling you, across the country. I'm sorry, guys, if I'm hacking on you today too.
I'm like halfway between a cold and allergies. Just stay tuned. I'm not sure which one, but so I'm an advocate for home ownership. I help people build greater stability and wealth through real estate. It's my goal to help others design the lifestyle they desire around a home they love.
Short, sweet, to the point.
Now, we all know when he gets into the thing, he doesn't say it that fast, like he's on speed crack, but but
not always anyway.
Right.
Depends on it. We'll floor
Okay.
around. Yeah.
Can you say that one more time and just slow it down a roll? And then
Yeah.
you guys, I want you to hear this, because if I ran into him and I said, hey dude, what do you do?
So, well, I'm an advocate for home ownership. I help people build greater stability and wealth through real estate. It's really my goal to help others design the lifestyle they desire around a home they love.
Wow, that invokes some questions. How many of you guys thought that was pretty good? 2 people, 3 people. All right, all of you on this with your cameras on.
And he never once said, I sell houses.
Yeah.
Not a single time.
Not a single time. Bless you, Joelle. All right. So for next week, please, and we're going to continue our discussion today, but that was one of the things, was your elevator speech. And I know when you get to that and you're like, okay, yeah, I sell people, I help people buy. But there's where a story comes in, can certainly come in. And again, Kevin, I'm picking on you, because if you're standing in an elevator and someone says, well, tell me a little bit more about that, building wealth. I'm kind of interested in building wealth. Now, at least there's something that it's like, how do you do that? Now, Kevin can pose a little expertise on me on that. Gauges some conversation.
No.
Yeah.
Kevin's not going.
I have an
Oh
elevator.
yeah, I mean, I can expand on that if you'd like.
I actually like the building wealth aspect of it, because I think if he's at a conference, he's in an elevator, he's surrounded by people who are probably educating themselves or into educating themselves. So he used that as a way to, talk in a like-minded sense with the people who he's surrounded with.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah.
it's even more general than that, because there's not a single person that isn't building wealth in some way by purchasing real estate. So it just puts it in a different light right there. So whether that's a business-minded person like Anthony's saying, an investor, or even someone that's just looking not to pay someone else's mortgage, they're building wealth as well. So it really covers the bases and changes the perspective of just owning a home and having a mortgage versus building something and gaining equity.
Yeah.
Yep. Although we do still need people that want to pay other people's mortgages.
They'll always be there.
Don't
Trust
worry
me,
about
our
it.
country will make sure we have that.
Beth, did you have something you wanted to add to?
I have a friend who on occasion has a sense of humor, and he was working to build his probate part of his business, working with people who are PRs and trustees, etc. And so just because he's obnoxious, he said, what do you do? Oh, I sell homes for dead people. And it's enough of a take you back that you get that moment, that window of their attention to then fill in, where he would fill in with his most recent story of helping a family get through a probate. And so he would just have that line as a hook, and then the story.
Nice.
Sell homes for
Great
dead.
sell.
I'm thinking Bruce Willis right now. I sell homes for dead people.
Yeah, huge market. But yes, it's a quick elevator speech story.
So my question with this for you guys is why do you think so many people struggle telling their story or having this, we know what we do. What's the disconnect for us? Why are we so hesitant to be ready and be able to share? And thank you for
Sometimes
putting
we're
that in.
just not ready to open ourselves up in a way and become vulnerable.
Okay.
Sometimes it's easier just to give some kind of easy thing. I'm a realtor. Problem is, if I give them that, then they throw me right in the round file and peg me as somebody they already figured out what it is that I do. So, or who I am and how I show up in the world. So it's got to be a matter of introducing yourself in a way that gives them a chance to look at you and listen to you, for you to engage with them. And that's the vulnerable, scary part. But if you don't do it, you just get thrown away.
I think also a lot of us are just concerned about being judged. Well, wait, how is this person going to react to me? This person feels this way. And so you don't want to give the same elevator pitch to everybody, because everybody gives you different emotions and different feelings and energy. And then I think some of us, me included, you're not always on, right? Like if I'm getting in with my 2 kids and trying to go here, like it's not always like, oh, I'm a realtor right now, like I'm in mom role. And so it's about trying to remember, no, you're always on, and trying to have that expectation of yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you think the perception that is out there sometimes about real estate agents specifically, is something that causes us some hesitation sometimes?
I think that a lot of people have to expose a great deal of vulnerable information in a society when we've been taught for decades and decades and decades that it's not cool to talk about that with strangers. It's not cool to talk about that you don't have down payment money. It's not cool to talk about and admit, I don't know what the hell the word an earnest money deposit means. What is that? I don't know what that means. And the minute we say we're anything other than a human being, the minute we say, I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor, I'm an Indian chief, I'm a realtor, I'm a belly dancer instructor, whatever, that automatically puts us in a superior position. So we've actually created a dynamic with the people that we're talking to, that we're superior. Not that we intended that, but that's the perception, we're superior. And so that's an automatic barrier builder. So to me, a lot of times when people say, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I do a lot of things. I eat chocolate. I love my dogs. I'm on the pursuit right now for a real good Reuben. Do you know where I can get one? And when I tell them those non-working things are not the way I make a living, it leads to other things. And then so eventually I can circle back and say, oh yeah, and the way I pay for the chocolate and the Reuben and the dogs is I make a living helping people find homes that they really, really love and being part of the American dream. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to say I'm the best at that. I'm just saying that I do know that the minute somebody tells me there's something,
once they label
they've automatically declared that they're a content expert, and that's great, but they've also let me know they're in a superior knowledge position. Mm-hmm. And not everybody in the world is comfortable being in the not superior knowledge position.
Absolutely.
I think for me though, I enjoy telling people I'm a realtor because I'm proud to be a realtor. It changed my life, and it helps when I just kind of put it out there. And there's a lot of things that I don't know, but I try to find that out, and I try to propose it to people that I'm here to help them. I'm here to help them achieve their goals in a real estate manner. And people latch onto that because people need help. It's a difficult thing to kind of navigate. So,
Yeah.
And I wasn't always that way. I think a lot of it came through my little successes and then building on top of them. But, when I tell people all the time, I'm a realtor, and sometimes you might get that look from somebody like you just told me you're a car salesman. But I've done that too before in my life. So, yeah.
Sometimes it helps to say what your passion is.
Mhm.
I often have a passion, I share my passion for working with first-time home buyers because I too had a difficult situation in my first home buying situation, and I don't want anybody to have to go through that again. It set us back for years, not having a trusted advisor. So I have worked diligently to become a good trusted advisor for families and for individuals who are building families.
Beautiful. And that's a beautiful little elevator speech right there.
It is.
And again, I think Shannon said it and Rebecca said it and somebody else is you do have to gauge who your audience is too and how you're going to translate that story to them. But two things. One is knowing a story having a story so that you can relate. If I'm a first-time home buyer and I hear Beth as a professional saying I'm an advocate and I walk through that journey, I don't want to prevent people from putting their hands on the stove and getting burned. That's going to make somebody feel pretty comfortable to say, hey, I would like to have that experience. I don't want to have that bad experience. How can I engage with you as the expert? And there was a story in there that made her relatable to somebody who's got some fear in there. And that's what we do. So but this takes conscious thought, guys. That's what the point is having a story that's intellectually reaches something like Beth not wanting to put her hand on the stove or being burnt. You know what I'm saying? In the real estate transaction, goes to heart and then back to head that I've become a trusted advisor based on that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, I know that there's a formula in there that may be a little more complicated than head, heart, head, but call to action and there's other things. But at least if you get to head, heart, head, you're a lot further ahead. And this takes conscious effort, just like writing the script for the play. Yes. It takes conscious effort. Please do not find yourself in a situation when somebody says, what do you do? Or however it comes up and you don't have a response. It's not fair to you. It's not fair to the other person who may need you.
The other piece that's helpful when you're putting together an elevator speech is that you are doing your marketing right there in person. And you want there to be a consistent message about what you provide. How is Joelle different from all the other agents? She's not Kevin. She's not Anthony. She offers something specific. She's got her own personality and her own passion. Zach is going to have a different focus and a different kind of energy. He wants to share that with people concisely. It's a really important part of your marketing. And if your marketing is gibberish, they're not going to remember you, or they won't remember you well.
Absolutely. Because again, as an agent, do you help everybody who comes to you and needs help? If they're coming to you, you can help anybody, right? I can help people buy $1 million homes. I can help people, investing, looking for those $50,000 flips if they're out there. I can help everybody. But the reality is that's not going to be where I'm going to spend my primary focus, right? We don't take that shotgun style approach if we want to be effective. We're going to focus in on working with first-time home buyers. I'm working with investors. I'm working with whatever it might be. And so you craft your brand, right?
Your skills.
In order to appeal to the people that you are going after and helping. Now, can that change as your business changes?
Certainly.
Absolutely. Again, I start off in business with no sphere doing all lead generation. Who do you think I was primarily working with?
First time
anybody and everybody.
Right? Lower end first time home buyers, because that's who's usually filling out the lead forms on most of these sites. But now, several years in, That's changing. Do I still work with first-time home buyers? Of course I do. I love working with first-time home buyers. But now I'm in a place in my business where a lot of those people, they've got equity in their homes, they've gotten a promotion, their life is changing. Guess what we're doing now? We're selling those homes, moving up. So now I'm working with the next step up buyers, right? And that's a lot nicer because, you know, a little bit more money for me. But the business has changed. And you have to understand the cycles and be prepared in the cycle for where you are. You know, Kip talked earlier about that actor being the chameleon, right? They walk into the role and they become it. How many actors have you watched in a role, you know, and you're like, oh my goodness, that's just what they're like. They're always, you know, Denzel Washington is always the in command kind of person, or whoever it might be. And then you find out some of these people in real life, they're shy, right? They stutter, they're socially awkward. And you're like, wait a minute, that's not what I see ever, right? Because you step into the role. But it starts with your big why. It starts with why you're here, and then crafting your brand. Who has a brand? Let me ask you the question this way. Who has a brand? All right, I see Beth. Zach, what's your brand? You haven't said anything yet today. What's your brand?
So I follow more of like a, oops, hold on. We have somebody right. All right. So my brand, I try to focus everything on like a theme. So I like my brokerage. We have very modern business cards, very modern format. Everything's kind of like a color theme, gray and white. And I kind of follow my business in that as well. As being 20 years old, I'm young in the industry. I'm also young as far as, you know, the future in real estate. And my goal of being in real estate is to get investments long-term anyway. And so taking more of the, you know, new approaches and advanced approaches and implementing that into a business is kind of what I've branded myself on, and establishing that not only in how I do it transactionally, but also how I promote myself on social media, how I promote myself into the general public, is just kind of that new light. Everything's advanced and simple and modern. Also, you know, having classical touches as well, but just kind of that's how I've set up my brand so far, and it's been.
I love it, and I'm so glad you mentioned the social media part of it, because that's where I'm going with this line of thinking. Is the brand extends out. It's who I am in my videos. It's who I am in my posts, right? For me, I'm the real estate pastor, trademarked, hashtagged, you know, I own the rights to that phrase. Thank you very much, right? But that's who I am. It's not just something I came up with for a catchphrase. That's who I am. I'm a real estate, I'm a realtor, I'm a pastor. That's what I do. So I put that into my business, and I'm not shy about it. And I was told when I started off, don't do that, you'll alienate people. I've never found that, because people are attracted to things that they care about. They're attracted to things that interest them. So are there people out there that probably don't want to work with the real estate pastor? Sure. I'm sure there are. Do you know what they don't call me? I haven't
You're
found that to be a
heartbroken.
problem. Go ahead. Sorry, Richard. What was that?
I said you're heartbroken.
It is. I've had one person.
You can hear me now.
There you go. One person in all my years who said, I don't want to work with you if you're a pastor. I said, that's okay. I don't want to work with you either. Right? It doesn't affect my life. But at the same time, that doesn't keep me from working with people either. I've even had people say, well, will you work with us even though you're a pastor? Because they were a different religion or what. Well, of course I will. Your money's green. You want to buy a house? I'm happy to help. Right. So it doesn't prevent me from things, but it focuses me. Go ahead. Sorry, Zach. Go ahead.
I was just chiming in on that. I mean, it's not about really what doesn't matter what the brand is as long as you're authentic about it. I mean, people, I mean, no matter what religion you're in, like, I mean, for instance, I kind of portray myself, I'm in the fitness industry as well. So it's kind of like, that's where I kind of backboard myself on as far as who I am as a brand. And it's like, even if somebody's not into that, they can see that as a brand and as a human, you're super authentic in what you are and what you believe in and what you portray. So no matter really what you are, I think people are afraid to be authentic. But in 2022, the only thing that you can be to set yourself apart is authentic. And everybody wants to be authentic. I mean, you crave authenticity, especially with everything being so auto-generated and blanket. It's so nice to actually see authentic humans that you want to deal with, to do transactional, deal with, to call when you have, you know, a question about an investment, or, you know, like what Kevin said. I mean, if somebody's going to help you build and generate your wealth and your long-term investments, you want it to be somebody that you feel like you can call and trust, and that's the most authentic person. So it doesn't really matter what it is as long as you're authentic.
Absolutely. Zach's preaching right now. I love it. That's good stuff.
Amen. Amen, Zach.
That's exactly right. So the question then becomes, for those of you that didn't raise your hand, or even if you did and you said, yeah, I've got my elevator pitch, you know, think about it again. You know, what is that saying about you? What is your brand? What is your story? Where are you going? Right? It doesn't have to be long and drawn out. You know, Kevin's passion is helping people, at the end of the day, boiling it all down, build wealth, right? Build wealth through real estate is what he's saying in that statement. What is that for you? See, I can't determine that. Kit can't determine that. Dave can't determine that. Beth, we can't do that for you. What is that for you? And that's what you need to put down into words, so that when somebody asks you what you do, somebody asked me what I do. You know, Kit asked me earlier and I deflected because I wanted to hear what other people were saying. But here's my response to that. I help people build the lifestyle they want. Guess what, guys? That applies to the ministry stuff that I do. That applies to the real estate stuff that I do. Everything I do is about helping people. That's my primary focus. Build something. It can be a marriage, it can be a relationship, it can be wealth, it can be whatever that they want. That's me. Now, is that you? I don't know, but that's me. I help people build the lifestyle that they want. At the end of the day, that's what it is. Short, simple, to the point. Now, you know what that's going to lead to in an elevator? What does that mean? Now you've just opened the door for me to talk to you. And to me, that's the whole point of the elevator pitch. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm not trying to get you, you know, on my, I'm trying to hook you in to where you want to know what it is I'm doing. And now you're giving me permission. When you ask that question, well, what does that mean? What does that look like? How do you do that? All of those things. Now you've given me permission to go into the various aspects, right? So how are you doing that? Because at the end of the day, what we want you to do, we want you to talk to 5 people a day, at least. I mean, more the merrier, all right? But talk to 5 people a day. And if you can convince those people to let you go further by having that elevator pitch, by having that statement ready to go, then you are going to open up an infinite number of possibilities for yourself. Part of the reason that people struggle with this whole concept of talking to people, and I see that because some of those of you that even are reporting your numbers, you're not getting to the 25 people a week. You're not getting to 5 people a day. And in talking to a few of you individually, you know, it's not because you don't know people. It's because you're scared. But the thing is why? If they say no, does that hurt you? If they say no, does that stop you from being able to talk to other people? Does it prevent you from being able to serve people and do a good job? No, none of that is going to affect you at all. They say no, you just move on to the next person. But when you craft your brand and your messaging in such a way that it creates wonder, it creates amazement, it creates a question of what does that look like? Now I have permission to speak into your life, your situation, your need, because you have asked me the question. I'm not just coming to you and saying, hey, I want to talk to you about buying or selling real estate. Completely different conversation. And what is something that everybody always wants to talk about? Yeah. Toby Keith has a song, right? I want to talk about me. Everybody wants to talk about them. So if you're Kevin and you're helping people build wealth, who doesn't want to know about that? Right? If you're helping people build the lifestyle they want, who doesn't want to know about that? You're going to find very, very few people that are unwilling to have a conversation. And again, the whole point is not necessarily to have them buy or sell a house. Maybe they do, but maybe they have a family member. Maybe they have a friend. Maybe they can introduce you to somebody. Maybe they can open a door to a business or a networking group or whatever. Right? I want to know who you know. Maybe you buy a house for me. And if you do, that's a transaction. We're done maybe for 5 years, maybe forever, who knows? But if you open a door for me to the hundreds of people that you know, I have a lot more opportunity now. And that's what I want. Do I want to sell you a house? Yes, I do. But what I really want is to know who you know so that I can sell them a house. But that's a lot more people. What other thoughts? What other comments in this area? We want you to be comfortable in talking about who you are and what you're doing.
We had a quiet group today.
I've spent all my time trying to figure out how to get my microphone to work.
Well, we're glad you did. Yeah, this is a little bit more introspective. I get that, because you have to start looking internally. You know, and honestly, guys, the thing is, if your answer is money, then you're gonna ultimately, long term, you're gonna have a hard time. Like, the whole point of a big why is, what is it you care about? Why am I here? Why do I exist? And for some people, you know, oh, I just want to make lots of money. I mean, that's good. But one, you can't quantify that at all. I mean, what's a lot of money? When is it enough? But you can quantify changing lives. You can quantify helping friends and family. Maybe you never reach the end, but there are actual tangible results when I have helped my sister or my cousin or my best friend, right? So start there. My challenge for you all this week, if you didn't raise your hand and say, I've got this, or even if you did, I want you to reevaluate it and make sure that it's really, really focused around who you are. My challenge for you is to really identify and pinpoint why I'm here, and how can you tell that story? How can you tell it on Facebook, using TikTok, using Instagram, using your reels? How can you tell that to somebody having a conversation? You know, how can you tell that to somebody when you're meeting them for the first time, when you're, you know, talking to your server at the restaurant and leaving them a nice tip, right? All those things. How can you tell that story that is going to create interest and make somebody want to ask the question, tell me more? Tell me more.
One of the things about an elevator pitch for many people is that they feel that it's very direct and it's self-serving and egotistical. That makes it very hard to be able to think creatively how you're going to interact with people. Mm-hmm. But this is a way to open a door. So think about, instead of showcasing just me, it's opening a door. So which doors would you like to have opened?
Yeah, awesome. So, guys, we only have a couple of minutes left here. Next week, everybody bring their 30-second elevator speech. We had 34 people on today, and somebody who could do better math than me. If we had 34 people on and everyone did their elevator speech in 30 seconds or less, that means we would be done with everybody's in 15 minutes. Give or take, right? Is that about right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And again, and then we'll pick, maybe we'll pick more. We'll figure this out, but we'll pick a couple of them that were like, well, again, we're not, and we'll vote on the best or the one that comes from the most heart or whatever. It doesn't, maybe we'll draw it out of a hat. We'll figure that piece out to give $100 away. But please come and be prepared. Now, if you're a broker, I see some of my broker friends on there. Same thing. If you ran into somebody and you're trying to grow your office with the like-minded people that you have, what is your elevator speech? What are you creating? If you're a coach on here and you're like, well, I'm just learning how to be a coach and I want to be, most everybody here has multiple roles, meaning never mind. I'm going to backtrack that. Whatever your primary bread thing is that you do, have your elevator speech for that. Because I know we've got people with sidekicks and this, that, and the other thing. So hustles, I guess. Not talking about that. If you sell real estate primarily for your income, that's your elevator. If you're a broker owner, that's your elevator speech. If you're a coach, that's your elevator speech. Is that okay? Whatever your primary income is, and let's have conversation about that. Devin, what else we have for next week? And then I'll let you do closing statements since we have 1 minute.
I'd love to have somebody share an actual story of their big why and why they're next week. So, if somebody, you have like how this has changed your life. Somebody mentioned that earlier, real estate's changed my life. I'd love to have somebody tell their story with that.
It was 15 minutes.
Because again, I think we lose sight of that sometimes. So, it's very important that we craft the story and craft the brand.
All right. So next week, somebody's going to tell that story and their elevator speech. Is that what I heard?
Yeah, we want all of you to do your elevator speeches.
Yeah. Somebody, how does real estate changed your life? Awesome. Okay. Can you also, with the 30 seconds we have left, Kevin and Devin, I don't know, and Dave, talk about the next run of track. Somebody.
We will be starting up again Tuesday, April 26th. The times will be the same. So 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central Time for the morning session, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central Time for the evening session. Same days, just like this. If you don't have to attend both, we're going to be on the same week. It's which one ever suits your schedule the best. We want to be flexible and available for you guys. And look forward to doing it again.
Yeah, I know PDA, thank you. You were asking. Go ahead, Devin.
I was going to say, or if there's other people in your office, some of you that are, brokers or leaders or admins that might be in here. There's other people in your office that haven't gone through track this time. Get them in. We'd love to have everybody just continue to refine.
Yeah,
Yep.
and if you guys probably have noticed, there's some drinking from a fire hose that goes on over these 12 weeks. So there is definitely a benefit to doing it a second time. So you come in more prepared, better mindset, ready to get stuff done. And I see a lot of agents get a lot out of it the second time around.
Yeah.
Did.
Yep. I know Rebecca's got, she had to bounce, but she's gotten so
All right,
busy.
guys. Well,
Yeah.
have a great week.
Everybody.
We appreciate you.
She went outside.
All right. Everybody good? Beth, you good?
I'm good. I had a couple questions for you. Are you going to make it up to Minnesota or Wisconsin?
For the retreat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. And you're doing track. What else can I do to help support you with what you're doing with track right now?
No, I mean, today was great. Just being able to share some